The Mariners have won 7 games in a row and are now just 2 back of first place in the American League West. Can they keep the streak going and inch even closer to Texas tonight? Let's talk about it here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. This is Trident and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, brought to you by birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free white tech hat with any order. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise you. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial. Check out the show. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description of this episode. And on the show today, we'll talk about tonight's matchup with the White Sox, and if anything will come of the tension we saw late in last night's game after Jose Caballero was hit by yet another pitch. We'll also talk about expectations for Bryan Woo and his return tonight. But Colby, let's start with last night. The Mariners win 14-2 over the White Sox. Luis Castillo gives them 7 strong innings, 14 runs. That's the most the Mariners have scored all season long, and they did it without Julio Rodriguez in the lineup. He got the day off yesterday, so expecting him back at the top of the Mariners order tonight. Colby, who is this offense, and what have they done with the Seattle Mariners?
Well, it's pretty clear Julio's been holding them back. New season high in runs scored. So I don't know. Well, I guess I do know what's going on, right? Julio, Teoscar, Ty, they all got hot at the same time. And even the struggles of Gino are relatively minor right now. Like, he's not cratering like we've seen in the past. He's still finding a way to produce some a little bit. Cal Raleigh right now is just on another planet when it comes to hitting homers and hitting the ball hard. And you're getting some pretty consistent contributions from basically every person in the lineup is getting a hit or getting on base. The only guy who didn't get a hit, there are 2 guys who didn't get a hit last night, were JP Crawford, who walked twice, and Mike Ford. Surprise. So yeah, everybody else had at least a hit. I think everybody, with the exception of Mike Ford, actually got on base twice. Yeah, it was a good night, and obviously you're also getting something from your second base position because Josh Rojas is starting to heat up a little bit. 3 more hits last night. So yeah, you basically, what's happened is that your stars have carried. Your all-star quality players have carried for the last week or so, but you're also getting serious contributions from role players. There's really just not a black hole in the lineup right now. Unless you want to count whatever position Mike Ford's playing that day. So yeah, it's a long lineup. It's a lineup that has, 2 or 3 guys right now who are playing their absolute best. And then you have 2 or 3 more guys who are, contributing fairly regularly. And then you have the final 3 guys 2 of the final 3 guys are not disasters at the plate. They can still get a hit. They can still draw a walk. So yeah, it's a deep lineup right now. And yeah, everybody's kind of feeling it. So there's good at-bats from the top of the lineup all the way down. And that's just putting tremendous amount of pressure on pitching staffs to, more or less be perfect. And they don't get an easy break, even when we think they do, because then Brian O'Keefe goes 2 for 3 with a 2 RBI double or something like that. So yeah, everything's just kind of clicking right now. And, it's not like they faced the murderer's row of pitchers, but they did tag Framber pretty hard. So, they did tag Hunter Brown, who's not terrible. So yeah, they faced some scrubs along the way, but they've also faced some pretty good starters, and they put up runs all the same.
Well, and the good news is that they are handling the scrubs well, right? Like, they're doing what they need to do against guys like Tuki Toussaint. Looking through the box score real quick, I believe Dominic Canzone was the only Mariners starter last night to not get on base twice. He did, however, have his second Mariners home run. Ford was robbed on that great catch by Luis Robert as well, but obviously he's going through it
Results
right
are the
now.
only thing that matter, Ty.
Right. He's going through it right now, though. Josh Rojas is starting to heat up, though. 3 hits for him last night. Couple hard hit balls. Nice to see out of the 9-hole. I mean, like, that's way better than anything you've been getting from or that you got from Colton Wong for most of the year. So if Rojas can keep on doing that, if he can keep on giving you hits here and there, that's a significant upgrade. But yeah, like you said, everyone's pretty much clicking right now. And, obviously that means that there's probably going to be some regression, but for now, let's enjoy the hell out of this ride because it's been a lot of fun. Cal Raleigh has to be, from the left side at least, has to be one of the most fun hitters I've ever watched in my entire life. That dude, when he is on from the left side of the plate, he smokes baseballs. Like, it is disgusting what he does at the plate from the left side. The right side, not so much. But left side Cal Raleigh is elite, dude. Elite.
Right side Cal Raleigh isn't terrible.
He's not terrible, but he's nowhere near left side Cal Raleigh.
He's very susceptible to breaking balls in the middle of the plate as a righty. Yeah. He'll swing over the top of those. Whereas, if you're a righty and you hang a curveball, like Cal's probably going to hit it hard. So yeah, Cal, I believe is.
I didn't realize that he had 6 ribs last night. I knew he had the couple of home runs, and then he missed what would have been his first home run of the night by like a couple of feet on the double. But still, like, I didn't know he drove in 6 runs last night. Jeez.
Yeah, the weather report says that if conditions were calm in the first inning, that would have been a home run. He would have had 3. But yeah, Cal's on kind of another planet right now too. He's not going 17 for 22 or anything like that, and
sure,
he'll still have probably an at-bat a night where you're just like, I mean, that's I'd like that to clean up a little bit. But yeah, he's smoking the ball like pretty much every game. He's putting up 1 or 2 hard hit balls, and he has 8 home runs this month, and I think 15 since the break. Like, he is just, it's just insane what Cal's doing right now, and the Mariners need it, and the buffer of Tom Murphy's not really there either. So they need Cal to continue to produce from this spot. And he has, and hey, you know what? Cal Raleigh is now, as of today, he is now tied with Will Smith for the highest FWAR amongst all catchers in baseball, all qualified catchers in baseball.
Sure.
I think Jonah High might still be slightly ahead of him.
What is Cal's WRC plus up to?
113.
Okay. Yeah, he was kind of hovering around league average for most of the year. I think it was like 95 to 100 for most of the year. Yeah. But yeah, really nice to see. And, we were talking about lineup construction yesterday. And I think, when there's a righty on the mound, you have to get Cal in the top 4 of your lineup. Have to. Like, dude's just seeing the ball so well right now, and he is destroying everything that he's putting the bat on. So it's awesome. He's so much fun to watch. This offense in general right now is so much fun to watch. I mean, Teo last night had a couple of rough at bats, but he also ended up collecting 2 hits still, had the 2-run home run. He's still pretty hot right now. So, that's just gonna be the thing with Teo, right? Like, the strikeouts, that's always going to happen even when he's hot. But if you can get games like that out of Teo from your 5 spot and maybe your 6th spot once Julio comes back, I mean, your lineup is in a really, really good place. So yeah, just super stoked by everything that we're seeing out of this Mariners lineup, especially last night, and gonna add Julio back to the mix tonight. So looking forward to that. So let's talk more about tonight's game. Bryan Woo is making his return to the mound, going up against Mike Clevenger. You can catch all the action on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. Let's talk about all of it in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Now, there's nothing in this world that's more comfortable than a pair of shorts from Bird Dogs. Coming in a variety of colors with breathable, stretchy fabric and built-in underwear, Bird Dogs shorts are perfect for going to a barbecue, chilling on the beach, taking in a baseball game, just lounging around the house. In fact, they're perfect for recording a podcast in. Trust me, I would know. And not only do they have a wide selection of shorts, but they also have joggers, sweatpants, polos, and more. It's time to look good, feel good, and play good. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb or enter promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a free white tech hat with any order. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise you. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Again, you can catch the White Sox and the Mariners game 2 of this series tonight on the Mariners hometown broadcast for SiriusXM via the SXM app. Again, that's going to be Bryan Woo against Mike Clevenger. And we'll talk about our expectations for Woo in a little bit here. But I want to start here, Colby. Last night, Jose Caballero came into the game late. He was hit by a pitch on his elbow by Brent Honeywell, and the Mariners dugout took exception to it. Nothing came of that. The first base umpire had to settle them down a little bit. What did you think about all that, and do you think this might carry over into tonight?
Yeah, it was a little weird that the Mariners seem to take such exception with Cabby getting hit. Like, I get it. He's been hit a lot on this road trip. And we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. For all we know, something was said pregame or we don't know. But that was a little weird, a little overreactionary, a little aggressive. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it. The Mariners are in the middle of a playoff race, so I don't think that they're going to risk suspension. But yeah, the White Sox also, they don't care. And I mean that both in the good way and the bad way. They clearly have given up on the season. They're going through the motions right now. And, might they take a shot at the Mariners again? Maybe they might, but, or for the first time, maybe. But yeah, I thought it was weird. I thought it was a little overprotective. I get it. Cabby has been hit a lot for as few at bats as he's had this year. France had been hit earlier in the game. So I don't know if maybe that was part of it or what the deal is there. But yeah, I thought it was a little weird because when it happened, I didn't think for 1 second that was intentional. It was like 9-1 already.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was fully in hand. Maybe what the Mariners were taking exception with was just like, look, we won this game. Just throw strikes. Let's just get out of here. Maybe that's what it was. But still, I don't have any issue with that, really. I know that Cabby's been hit a lot. He's been hit 5 times now on this road trip alone, 17 times, I believe, on the season in total. But still, like, let's not risk anything happening here. Colby and I, we are a team brawl, but I would more prefer if they are going to get into a scrap with a team, that it would happen earlier on in the season, not when they're playing their hottest ball of the year, where they would risk, suspensions or potential injuries, anything like. I don't really want them to get into any sort of altercation here if they don't need to. So I would just prefer that the Mariners chill on that. I don't really know why they were going too hard with it, because even after first base umpire warned them to just cut it out, they still kept on twisting the knife a little bit. Julio and Gino at the top of the step were still talking a little bit. Let's let it go. It's fine. You won the game. You kicked their ass. Just let the scoreboard do the talking, and let's just move on. But yeah, hopefully nothing, carries over into tonight, because again, that's really my concern, right? Is just suspensions, anything that would break up the momentum of what you got going on right now, because you are so hot right now.
Yeah, you are.
So you don't want to do anything that messes that up. So Bryan Woo is back tonight, making his first start in the last couple weeks. We still don't know if it was a phantom IL stent or whatever. We really won't know. I mean, maybe we'll know. We'll be able to use deductive reasoning here to tell if that was that or not. We've talked a little bit about this over the last couple shows, but what are your expectations for Woo specifically tonight?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Here's the beauty of last night's game that can impact today's game. Bullpen got a full reset. I mean, no disrespect to Bizzardo or McCacken, but they're barely a part of this bullpen. One of them is getting sent down today. So those are the only guys you use because, Luis Castillo showed just how little respect he had for the White Sox lineup by finishing his outing throwing 47 straight fastballs, and I think the White Sox got 2 hits out of those 47 fastballs. One of them was a jam shot that fell into left field. So yeah. If there really is a problem with the White Sox hitting the fastball, that's great because that's Bryan Woo's bread and butter, and he has a shot to, rack up some outs here. But I don't think they need to push it because they do also have the off day on Thursday. So the bullpen is going to be in good shape, regardless of how many innings they have to cover tonight. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if the Mariners try and take them, like, let's say it's 3-0 or whatever after 4 and the Mariners take them out. Maybe that's a sign that, hey, let's ease up here a little bit. But I think for me, the first thing I'm always concerned about when a guy comes off the IL, and again, we don't know if this was phantom or not, but either way, I'm always concerned about command. Can you keep the ball out of the middle of the plate? Because, the White Sox, while the lineup is bad, like that's a bad offense. Robert can hurt you. Eloy can hurt you. You don't want to make a mistake to Benintendi or Sheets or anybody like that. So you do have to stay out of the middle of the plate. But my one concern isn't so much how many innings can Woo give you, because they might short script him anyways with how good of a shape the bullpen's in. My main concern is, can he, not implode and just kind of take you out of the game in the first 2 or 3 innings as he's trying to find his fastball command. That's mostly what I'm concerned about. So we'll see. It's a pretty righty heavy lineup, if I'm remembering correctly, just 2 or 3 lefties in there. So it's a lineup that in a matchup that should benefit Woo and what he's currently capable of doing. So my concern is just stay out of the middle of the plate. Don't walk guys though. And just go your 4 or 5 innings, whatever it is, and just, keep your team in the game. Let this offense work. So I'm looking. The easiest thing to tell is fastball velocity. Is he 95, 96? But I think command and control are equally important here. So is he in the middle of the plate or is he on the corners? Yeah. And I think if he's on the corners, that gives you a pretty good idea about where he's at physically.
Yeah, if it's the same lineup as last night, it'll be 4 lefties, I believe. Benintendi, and then Colas, and then the 2 switch hitters, and Moncada and Grandal. So yeah, so it's still going to be a righty favored lineup for the White Sox. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, just if he can give you 5, great. Totally cool with that. Because I think the Mariners offense should be able to get the job done here. And I mean, Mike Clevenger's having a pretty decent year, and he's had a good stretch here over the last 7 games, but they've also, and this isn't really how this works, right? Because it's different teams, different rosters, but they have historically owned Mike Clevenger. He's running like a 7.6 ERA against the Mariners in 3 starts. So I think they should be able to take care of business here. And if Woo gets a comfortable lead and he's able to give you 5 and you can just hand this thing off to the bullpen, huge success, especially with the day game tomorrow. Got George Kirby on the mound. Hopefully he can give you, 6 or 7 and get out of Chicago looking good and head into the off day feeling pretty good about yourself before you play Kansas City and Oakland at home. So I think there's a pretty good chance here that the Mariners can sweep this team. This is kind of the big factor tonight. I feel pretty good about tomorrow's game, but this kind of leads me to the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the division, right? Because we've talked about how many wins the Rangers have had banked, but Mariners have won 7 in a row. Rangers have lost 4 in a row, and all of a sudden the Mariners are now 2 games back. So, I mean, it's impossible to not talk yourself into the division at least a little bit, but how are you feeling about this right now?
That it's still unlikely. But simple fact of the matter is, if you get to the last, 2 weeks of the season and you're within 2 games, you play the Rangers 7 times. Like, it's very much a realistic possibility. But I think that's the mark. You have to be within 2 games when you start that last 10 game stretch. Because Texas has handled you this year, so they are probably going to have the tiebreaker. I think they're 5-1 against you, so they have to win just 2 more games out of those 7 to have the tiebreaker. So you have to pass them. So in reality, you're more like 3 games back. So I would say that the division's still unlikely, but it's definitely higher than 0. Yeah, so I obviously you're still watching the Texas scoreboard, and it's. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, because it's certainly not. You're 2 games back. You can make up 2 games in the next 2 days. Like, there's a chance you come home on Friday and you're leading the division. It's a small chance, very small, but it's non-zero. But I think for me, as long as you're staying close, you're within shouting distance of that division lead. It's a very realistic possibility. I do think Texas will start to play better. But yeah, and obviously the Mariners are at some point again going to drop 3 in a row or something like that. Might they go on to win 7 in a row right after, like they have this time? Sure, they might. But at some point they're going to drop some games. Like, this is going back and forth. But if you get into the final month of the year and you're within 3 games, you have a legitimate shot of anything. And then, so yeah, I understand the excitement. That's great. It does seem kind of like there is, I guess I would say, like, the most important thing about being that close to the division is that there's another out, so to speak. There's another playoff spot open to you. So instead of just fighting for that number 3 wild card spot and that's your only way in, now you could possibly win the 3, you can win the 2, you can win the division. You might even run down the Rays. So that's 4 of the 6 playoff spots that you could conceivably win. And that's huge, to have more than one path to the postseason. So yeah, it's certainly exciting. But it's ultimately going to come down to how well you play over the next 6 weeks, 5 weeks now. If it comes down to the final series of the year, awesome.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly nerve-wracking, but also really fun. Really, really freaking fun. But yeah, I mean, and I hate this term, really, but there's a pretty good chance you might control your own destiny here as far as the division goes when you get towards the end of the season.
I mean, like, technically, I think they have 37 games left. If you go 37-0, you're winning the division. So yeah, technically.
No. But I mean, like, if you handle business against Texas at the end of the year, you might win the division that way, right? So, yeah. So just keep winning series, keep winning ball games, and maybe we could have a pretty fun but anxiety-inducing couple of series against the Texas Rangers at the end of September and the start of October.
Oh, good Lord, those 10 games might kill me.
Especially we won't even be in the playoffs yet.
Yeah,
and then there's playoffs to be played after those series. Like,
you're not even going to be like clinched a playoff spot when those 10 games. You're so like, it's not only are you like, oh, we're trying to pass Houston and we're trying to pass Texas for the division, we're trying to push back the Blue Jays from
but also if you get smoked, you could lose out on the playoffs entirely.
Good
Lord. That's gonna be.
Can we just win like the next 12 in a row just to kind of like?
Great. That'd be great.
That would be incredible. But
hey, man, if you do take care of business, new banners going up in right field. That'd be pretty cool.
Sure, and we'll see how people complain about this one. Like Ty said, you just got to keep winning series. At the end of the day, like you could just as easily drop today's game as you could win it. It's not the end of the world. You pick it up. You're in a good spot. You have a full game buffer. So one loss isn't just going to you just kind of been yo-yoing back and forth here, but now you have a full game. So even if you lose and Toronto wins today, it's like, okay, we're tied. We have the tiebreaker, blah, blah, blah. So take a deep breath. They're going to drop a game they shouldn't drop. The bullpen's going to blow a lead or something, and this is mostly me talking to me. The offense is going to go quiet for 2 or 3 days in a row, and they're going to struggle against bad pitching at some all these things are going to happen in the next 37 games. But if they win 25 of them, you have to feel pretty darn good about your chances of getting into the playoffs. And I don't even think they have to win 25 of them. My thing has been 90 all year, get to 90. And I think you have a very good shot, and they have to go 20-17 down the stretch to get to 90. And every day that number gets closer and closer to 500. So I'm not saying they have to sweep Kansas City. They have to sweep the White Sox. They don't. They have to win these series. That's it. Just take 2 out of 3 repeatedly over and over again, because you've done the hard part. right? You've done the part where you've won your 17 of 20 or whatever it is, like just insane numbers. Now you just have to just win series. You're going to drop a series. That's fine. Don't panic. Just win the next one. Like, and there's going to be stretches where, you're going to go 5-5 in a 10-game stretch, and that's going to be perfectly okay, even though you drop like a game and a half in the standings. Like, it's going to be okay. Just relax.
Self-therapy with Colby Patnode.
Promo code CTZ at checkout. But
all right.
It's again, when you get to the final 37 games, it's tough to say a lot of baseball to be played. Because it's not, but also it kind of is. Like,
a lot can happen in 6 weeks. A lot can
especially
change.
when
a lot has changed within the last 6 weeks for the Mariners.
Right. I mean, especially when like your position in the playoffs right now is tenuous at best.
Yeah.
Despite how well you're playing, like you're a game
bad couple days and you're on the outside looking in again.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes, but obviously the Mariners playing really good ball right now, and it'd be nice if they can take the game tonight, and then tomorrow is just kind of a, you don't want to say a bonus game, but you got the series in your back pocket. You can kind of manage that game accordingly. So I'm just worried about winning series at this point. I don't think that you've swept the teams you need to sweep. You've won that incredible stretch they had to go on or whatever. You've done that now. So just win series. You'll be fine.
Colby, can you win a division in the first corner?
Yes.
We'll see about that. Put that to the test with the Rangers.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Again, you can catch the Mariners and the White Sox tonight on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. For Colby Patnode, I'm Trident Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez. That's DaneGNZLZ. And Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making us your first listen. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you after the game tomorrow. Peace.